Okay, so we will continue with the work on our backend application. So the distributed latest demo of the sport map backend. I also have the front ends open up here. And the last issue we had, which we didn't solve in the class, in the last lecture, is this. Let's try it again. Let me start the backend. What's this? Okay, now it works. So the problem we tried to solve, or I tried to solve, and to show you how to approach it, is this. First we need to log in. So let's create a new request. So it's here. So it's API version 1.0 account login. It's of type post, and we need our body. It's a row, and type is a JSON. So it was an email, which is my predefined user account, and my password. Something like this. I hope that I remember it correctly. So let's send it. And yes, we got the token. So now I can grab the token and make a new request. So I need this authorization header. This is the bearer and the token value. API version 1.0, GPS, location, types. So let's do the get first. This is actually public, so the authorization header is not used. So I get those IDs or those entities from the backend. Currently we have 4, so this is some kind of test in my local database. But those first 3 are the predefined during the data seeding. So everybody can use the same IDs and they are well known. But now let's see the problem. So when we do the post here to actually create the new entity, so that one, what hell, body, this request, oh. So this is a JSON. So I want to create a new entity. Let's do some kind of test 5. Test 5 IDs. My headers are okay. My body is okay. It's a post. Yep, we will create a new entity. Let's do it. And we get back this. So this is definitely wrong. This is not the correct ID in any sense. So this is the default value for the new GUID. So let's check from here, from the Swagger. So it's GPS location types. Try it out, version 1, execute. And yes, we can see that we actually have in the database a new ID for the record just created. So when we want to access the data updated after the save changes gets done, so when the database operations are actually done, so that when the unit of work atomic save happens, then we need to figure out what to do about it. And the problem initially is this. Let's look at the code. And it comes initially from here. When we switched over to the repositories, where is the add here? Update to sync, add. So when we do the add, we get the DAL entity, and we map this DAL entity over to the domain entity. So this mapper gives us output will be the domain entity, input is the DAL entity. So domain entity is the output. So okay, now we add the domain entity to the DB set. And then when it actually gets created in the database, then the domain entity ID will be updated. So the problem here is this, that when this entity is updated, we don't have any references to it. So this domain entity is copy of all the same fields that are in this DAL entity. So they are not the same, they're deep copies. So they are not, they're just identical memory footprints, but they are not in the same location. So when this domain entity gets updated, nothing gets reflected back here into this entity. So that's why we get those zeros. So the GUID ID here is the normal one. So we even return here this tracked domain entity. We map it back again into the DAL entity and return it, but this has no connection. So this is the, let's say, if we count the different copies we now have, so this is the first one, we get as an input. This is the second one we create via the mapper. So this is the copy via the mapper. Internally, it's using AutoMapper currently. Then we add this B entity, we add it to the database. We get the same reference actually back. So this is still the B entity. And now we once again map it into the DAL entity. So this will be the C entity. So this is the third copy or third entity, second copy. And then we return it. So when our B entity gets updated, our C entity gets no reflections about it. So the ID is not updated and we get those zeros. So we need to do something about it. And there are a few different approaches we could take because Entity Framework actually keeps track of this entity and updates the ID. So we kind of need to figure out when the entity gets updated via the Entity Framework. So this happens when the save changes is called. And when the save changes is done, we could basically go and grab this entity from the Entity Framework, take the ID, and if we still had the reference to this entity, which we returned from here, actually this entity, the C entity, we could go and update the ID field in this DAL entity. And then we could get the correct entity back from the API with the correct ID. So the easiest and would be nice if this would happen automatically, so we don't need to create any kind of extra methods. So if we look where the problem finally surfaces for us is this GPS location types controller. And here we did a post. So this is where we finished in the lecture, that we need to do some kind of system to actually get the updated entity after the save changes async gets done. So we need to do something about it, how to get it. And would be really nice if we can do it without some kind of special methods here. So it shall happen, or would be nice if it can happen automatically. And I think at least it should be possible. So let's figure it out. So what I want to do is, let's go here in the DFBase repository. I need to keep track of those entities. And since those are global, I need to access those entities, not global, but they're global in the sense of database. or entity framework, that when the entity framework save changes gets called, then I need to update all those entities, no matter what repository created them. So probably I want to keep track of them in the DB context. And I have the reference of the DB context here inside repository. But this DB context is just a DB context. So there are no special methods there or no properties I can access my own. So let's start with the interface and just declare that our DB context needs to be a little bit different than what's there. So let's go to the contract style base and let's add a new interface here. Let's say something like IBase DB context. And it shall have, as always, we have 2 copies of those, since we are dealing with unknown key types. So and the only limit we have on the key is that it has to be equatable TK. And then our classical version of it is using GUID. So what I need here is something like this. It's a dictionary. And I want to iDomain entity ID, the generic version one of TK, comma, iDomain entity ID with the TK. So basically it's a dictionary of object and an object. And both of those objects have to fulfill this interface. So I know that they both have the ID field. So I can map ID from one object to the next object. And let's call it something like entity tracker maybe. And it only has a getter, so nobody can override it. So something like this. So now I can go and implement it. So where's our DB context? The only one we have is here in the DAL app. So we don't have the DB context in the DAL base. Theoretically, we could have. Maybe it would be even a nice idea. But no, since we are derived from the identity DB context, so then we would have to do in the base to do 2 DB contexts. I think one with identity and one without, and then add our own stuff. So just now, I kind of do it easily and add it here. So let's implement the missing members. So this is our interface. So I'll put it somewhere here in the up here where all the kind of fields are. So and in the initial it's just an empty dictionary. So now I can store the entities here when they get added to the database via the repository. So here in the base repository, when the add gets done, so I can do something about it. Now, first I have to tell that what kind of DB context we do have. So this is the IBase DB context. And that one here is the IBase DB context against TK. So now where I have this add method, let's see, somewhere here. Or here. I can do now this repo db context dot entity tracker add, And now I can save the stuff there. Basically, it's a object and object. So I have to remember which way do I add them. So which one is the key of the dictionary and which one is the value of the dictionary. So I think it will be this track add domain entity first. And then the input parameter, the entity. And I have high doubts about this result, since this is track domain entity mapped again into the tdull entity and result. Okay, let it be. We don't update that one. So we update this one here. So the original income one. Let's say in the controller. Where we do the post. We just do the post and we don't save anything here. So we don't get the output from here. So let's use it like this. So maybe it will be nice even just to drop here this return type, so the add will be void to type. But just now it's like this. And now I can figure out what to do with those entities. So when the database does its stuff, where's our AppDB context? So here we have those save changes methods. So let's split them up, and result equals this base save changes. And now we return the result. And the same here. So here shall happen something like this, let's make a method for it. Update track add entities. So let's create a method, private void update track add entities. So we have this dictionary of entities we are tracking, and now we can basically just loop over them and update the IDs. So this is our track add. What did we call it? Entity tracker, yeah. So inside entity tracker, we have the all the items we have collected. So I know, let's name it an entry here. So we have the entry, key and value. So entry value ID will equal entry dot key dot ID. So basically this should be it. Use a deconstruction. Okay, we can use it. A little bit nicer to read. So this will take all the items from the entity tracker, go over them one by one, take the key and the value of those. Those are our, let's see here when we add them. So it's the domain entity and the entity. So the key is the track domain entity, and this is the value. So we need to update the value ID, because this one gets updated by the entity framework automatically. So we need to update that one here. So that's what we do here. And now it should be basically happy. So let's try to use it. Okay, it's working. So let's do the test. So here we create a new one. Let's do the test 6 and test 6 it is. So last time when we run it, we got back this 0000, which is not actually the truth. So everything seems to be okay. So let's run it again. And yes, we got back the correct GUID, hopefully. So it's 91A2. So we can try it from here. GPS location types. Try it out. Version is 1. Execute. Yes, it's correct. So we have our types. So this is nice. And I can actually now delete those unnecessary records from my database. So, but this is local instance, so it's not a huge issue actually, but still. Let's try to remove it. Yep, got back okay. And I had one more here. Test 5 it is. And now when I try to execute it again, yep, now I have the 3 original one. No, oh, I have one more extra here. So I need to delete that one also. Okay, now I have the 3 original fixed ones. So those will be seeded every time into the database. So this solves this key problem on the updates. So now let's look into the next problems we might have. So initially what I only have here is this base repository, since when I look into the DAL app EF and repositories, all my repositories are just derived from the base repository, so they are not doing anything special, although we worked out pretty nice base repository already, which has the capability to check that the actual entity is owned by the user. So we have this interface checking and record checking here, and entity exists and stuff like that. So this is nice. But just now I have implemented or actually using the repositories only on the GPS location types. So the unit of work is only included here. So let's bring the other ones also over, and then we might hit a little bit more problems because the other ones are not using the same details anymore. So the actual objects are different. At least the output is a little bit different. So maybe we need to write our first custom mappers to get the correct fields. So let's see. So let's start from the, let's say, from the location controller. So we have the same unity of work here. And we don't have the DB context anymore. And I can just tell to it that initialize it from the constructor, and let's remove this DB context. So now we need to update everything to the unit of work. And now I can actually use my nicer methods there. So I have this exist async, which takes the record ID. It's not an SID, this is just the GPS session ID. Yep, it can be null, so I need the value from here. So it's actually cannot be null, so it's already taken care of, but I still have to tell it here because the type is actually nullable from here. So if it's not found, then yep, not found. GPS location, and now I have my kind of first issue here because I want to get all the GPS locations where this GPS session ID is set, and they have to be ordered by the recorder at. So we figured out the problem with the phones is that sometimes when the HTTP requests in the phone get queued, they are not fulfilled in the exact or in the correct order. So sometimes later points will be, or the older points will be inserted in the wrong order into the database. So we actually need to use this clock or timestamp from the phone itself, how to return the records. Otherwise, the track was totally messed up. So I think it's somewhere here. So this will jump around like randomly because this point somehow arrived at this location in timeline. So that's why we need to order it. So now I have the problem that I cannot do this in any sense just now because I don't have this method in my repository. So I need to go and fix now my repositories. So this is the real world, real work, what you have to do with the repositories. So this is my GPS locations repository. And I need to start from the interface. So to define what methods I do have here. So what I need to do is, let's start from here. I need to do something like this. So since I know that this is already a GPS location, that's not an issue. Okay, get all async. And what I need to do here, let's go back here. Maybe the bool no tracking even can stay here. Yep, that would be nice. But this is definitely do I need to check the user also? Probably not. No, just in case I can even let this one be here. Right now I know it's a GUID. But this is now the nullable GUID here. So it can be null. So by the default, it is a null. And now I need some actual parameters. And the actual parameter is this session ID. So this is the GUID GPS session ID. Get all async and do I need any better naming here? Get all async for get all for GPS session? Maybe not. This name seems nice enough. So now I can go and actually fulfill this GPS location repository. So this needs this method now. So implement missing members. And now I can actually do it. So now I can figure out how to approach it. So if I want to check for the user ID, then I need to filter out the records based on the user ID. And let's check, do those actually. So this is DTO GPS location, yes. But the incoming is this is the outgoing, yeah, that one here. Incoming is this, or internal is this domain GPS location. So let's go see domain entity ID with metadata user. So the location actually does have the user. So I can go to the base repository. And just now I have those methods here as a private ones. So, but actually need to use them. So let's add them to the interface. So it's not a private and it's not, it's a protected. So they are not in the interface. So those are not callable from the outside, only from the inside of the repositories. So this one is in the interface, I think. Is the exists async in the interface? Let's see. IBase repository. Yeah, exists async is. So let's make all those here protected. Yes, those are publics and those are protected. So now I can start the query. So this is the prepare query, and I'll send those user ID here and the no tracking. And now I have the issue with this user ID. No go. Since we figured out that let's try to use generics, and now the generic is actually in the repository here. This TK ID against the user ID, and the same here in the prepare query. This isn't a null since the TK is now here. It is known that it is a GUID. So this is a problem now. Since I can't write anything like this here, so this is not allowed. So I think I am back to the object. There is no way around it because it can be a null. And this is a null, and it can be a nullable. Okay. Record exists. Let's see. Exists async goes here, and this one also, and makes the prepare query, so that one can also be a null. So let's see, object. So this is a nullable. So this is a null. Now this one is unhappy. So that one also needs to be an object. And it is a nullable object, and it can be a null. And I think I have the same problem actually everywhere, so I will update them all. Because I do need a null here. And I need to do the same in the interface. Let's go do it here also. So all my TKs to the user ID have to be an object. Okay, So the repository seems to be okay. So now I can go here and where's my GPS location repository? Okay, now I do have this option to send the null there. So I have my query prepared. Now I can do query equals query where. And now I need to check that this GPS session ID needs to be there. So it's some kind of entity. And it has this GPS session ID equals to GPS session ID. And now I can return it. Oh no, now I need to get the result. So this is var domain entities equals, now I need to get the result. Wait, query to list async. And of course, this now needs async, and it can be a virtual just in case. No, it's the wrong order. And now when I have the list of my entities, now I need to map them back. So our actual result is my domain entities, select mapper dot map my ease, and now I just return my result. So this returns all my stuff. Should be okay. So now I can go here and do UAV GPS locations, get all async. And now I can send this parameter there. And since I don't need any values here, so it's not limited to any user. It's public, so there is no, it's allow anonymous, no authorization. So it just you just need this GPS session ID, and everything else stays the same. And since we don't want to track the entities, we don't want to modify them in any sense. So this bool no tracking is by default true here. So this seems to be okay. Let's work on the next one. So this one gets just one GPS location, and this is also allow anonymous. So this is our unit of work, GPS location. Find the, okay, this one we have this first or default async method. If it's null, then go to hell. So this GPS location now is what? So it's a domain GPS location. Oh no, it isn't actually. So the type, so this here, if you return this action result, it's not strongly typed because we return all kinds of results from here. So not found and okay and etc. So this, let's say first or default returns us the T entity, whatever it is. So but if you go here and let's look at the implementation, which is this one. So here we say that iGPS location repository, which is the GPS location, which is what? It's a Dell app DTO. So we are returning the Dell app DTOs. So we need actually fix a little bit this thing here, because now we don't use the domain classes here at all. So this is actually this Dal app DTO. Is it this? Let's see which GPS location it is. Should be that one, Dal app DTO. Those are what we are returning. So yes, that's Dal app DTO. Okay. Okay, put GPS location. So that one also now is the Dal app DTO. Yes, finally we will switch over to this public output DTOs. But just now we are kind of not using the domain anymore, but using the Dal objects. So that one here will be UOV GPS sessions, and we are what? GPS location, sorry. GPS locations. And this is the update async, because that one actually will check that the record is there in the database. So, and it needs the await keyword. So that one gets updated. And now we can do immediately this. So that's the UOV save changes. And we don't need this check anymore here. This gets done in the repository already. Okay, then this is the post. So we fix some values here. So if the timestamp was bad somehow, then we just update it to the datetime now. So if somehow the programmer of the client application in the phone didn't include the timestamp, then we update it to the server timestamp. Hopefully it's better. And now we can just update this to the unit of work. And to the unit of work save changes. Should get the correct ID. So now this is the delete. What we do here? Okay, we try to find the sync. So this is first the default sync with an ID. GPS location, if it's not found, go to hell. Okay, now it's an UAV GPS location. And we have this remove async. So we have two versions of it, and we can do it directly with an ID. And the UAV save changes. And it shall actually, okay, I need to do some documentation here. I see I'm missing one. So produces a response to something like this. So it's status 200 OK with the type of GPS location. That's that one. And we also return the not found. So, oh, it's missing here also. So put GPS returns actually something else. So it's status 400 bad request, which doesn't have anything to return. And then it's no content. 204 is the new content. And here that one. Let's see, app user ID, post. No, this is only the created, that one was okay. So that one needs the not found also. And not found doesn't have anything attached to it. Where did the not found had something attached to it? Okay, here's the message DTO. Okay, that will be actually nice. So where's the not found here? And we don't need this method anymore. Okay, not found. Nice. Created that action. Status 201, yeah, created that response. Maybe bad request shall also have some kind of message attached to it. Yeah, like here. So why was it bad? So ID and GPS location dot ID do not match. No, it's not source code. What the hell? It was type equals. So that's the message DTO. Seems to be okay. So let's test it. Okay. So we need so it's the GPS locations. So to get the GPS location, we need the GPS session. So let's see, do I even have anything here in this database? Get all the sessions. Okay, I have one session only, and maybe there aren't any locations yet, so we can create one. So this is one, we have the GPS session, let's execute it. Yes, it's empty totally, so let's create. So request body is this. And to create, we need the user ID. So, so we can add the GPS session ID, and we need the location type. Many things. Okay, let's gather the information. So the GPS location types are here. So we need this type ID, the first one. GPS location type ID is this one. And we don't need app user ID and ID. So those actually need to be fixed. So we should use a correct DTO here with the correct information, not show the extra fields. So which means that this should be actually authenticated. I need the token. So I need to do the bearer something stuff here. Since the put, put is under the authorize, so there is no allow anonymous, and the whole controller is under the authorize actually. So I need my bearer, and I can grab it from the postman, since I already have it here. So I can go to my Swagger with it, authorize, close. So this just adds the header. So now I can actually check it out. So let's write something here, like latitude is 5, longitude is 15. Accuracy and those I don't need. And I can also skip the recorded at, I think, or not. What did I do in the code about it? Location, when I do the put post, yep, that gets set to the current time, so I can skip that one. So this should be it, hopefully. Let's execute it. Bad request. Oh, trailing comma, yeah. Badly formed JSON. 201, yes. 201 was post GPS location created. I got the ID. I got app user ID, which is bad, which shouldn't be visible here. And I got recorded at, which, yep, is correct time. GPS location type, session ID. This is what I asked. Yep. So it seems to work correctly. Now I can do the get and get the whole list. Yes, now there is one GPS location. And I could also go and get just one of those. Try it out. So I have the ID. Version is 1. Let's execute it. 200. Yep, got the same thing. Yes, everything seems to work correctly. So we can also try to update it. So let's see, try it out. So this was the ID. Version is 1. Request body. Let's see. I need also the session ID. So let's take the get from here. So this is the original record. Okay. So I can put the original record here. So the ID has to match with that one. Yes. App user ID I shouldn't have. Recorded at. Yes. Latitude, longitude. Oops. So let's change them to the 25 35. 1, 2, 3 GPS session ID shall be there, and let's change that to 2. Execute. Internal server error. Okay. App user ID. What did I do wrong here? Post. Delete. Where's the put? Oh, okay. Here's the problem. So let's put it here. It equals to the user ID here. Yes, post has it. Delete. So let's update that one also here. Since here we also need the user ID. So let's send the, so not anyone is allowed to delete records, only the owner. And the update async also has the user ID. So that would be nice to have it here. So also only the owner can actually update it and it will be checked in the database. So get is public, this is all right. Okay, let's restart it. So this is one more thing I need to fix or figure out. So this direct HTML output kind of, or text, this is not nice. It should be some kind of formatted JSON. So let's execute it again. Okay. Entity to be updated was not found in data source. So this is something more interesting. Why? ID is this is the ID. What do I do wrong? I'm authorized, yes. Okay, let's debug it. Get GPS location, get. So the put is the problem. So let's make a breakpoint here and let's debug it. Okay. Let's see, GPS location. What is it? Just now. So app user ID is null. This is okay. So this is 2. This is all right. Session ID is there. ID is there. Recorded that is okay. Everything seems to be okay. So let's debug it. Okay, now we go to the GPS locations update async. All right, that one I want to see. Force a step over, skip the cursor, step into F11. App unit, no. So where does it go? I want to go actually here. So I don't need this get GPS location, so this will give me the repository. I don't need this get user. I don't need this one. I need that one. Can I get there? Hey, what is it doing? No idea. What happened now? Can't I see it? It should be in the somewhere in the EF base repository, but it's not here. So I need to put another breakpoint here. So it actually shall arrive here. So let's stop it and let's run it again. So that one here was okay. So I didn't need to break here. So let's execute it again. Okay. Let's see now. User ID I do have. All right. Domain entity is null yet. Okay. Entity. Is all right. App user ID is the same. ID is here. Okay. This seems to be, everything seems to be okay. So now we create the domain entity. And now we go to the check domain entity ownership. Which goes to the exists async actually, which goes here. So we want to see what happens here. Okay, user ID is nice. ID seems to be also okay. Yes. So now it goes to the prepare query. Okay, let's step here. So user ID is there. No tracking is true. Let's see, no tracking is okay. So now we go here, user ID. Yes, we get here because this domain entity user is from this T domain entity. Exactly, the domain entity is I domain entity user, so there has to be this user ID. Now we modify the query. So where the domain entity property of type guide from the E. Yes. Yes, user ID equals to that one. Yep. Okay, query gets prepared. Should be okay. Now we execute the query. And record exists is false. Why? Hmm. Argument count is 2. Yes. Property app user ID equals do something. Yes. Okay, first one is has no tracking. App user ID. Boolean, yes. So can I see the actual? Okay, I need to enable the logging of the entity framework sentences. So I want to see the SQL it generated actually. So do we prepare something wrongly here? Because this boils down this here. So this is the shadow property access, but it should be correct, hopefully. So it's AF core shadow property access. Why can't I find it? Shadow properties. Accessing shadow properties. Context entry property can be referenced in the link queries via the EF property static method. So EF property, the type, and this. EF property, it has to be of type TK. Yes. Yes. App user ID from here. This is the iDomain entity user, TKT user, app user ID. Yep, seems to be okay. So I need to enable the entity framework logging and see what kind of SQL gets generated. Why does it complain it is not found? Because it actually should be found, I think. Let's see. Okay, my Swagger isn't working because my database is currently waiting. So let it run and it. What's wrong with you? Did you already get the exception? Or I'm here. Oh, I mean, where's the wrong thing? Where's my debug? So from here, continue. So this crashed. Entity to be updated was not found in the database. So this user ID has to have this object. This is weird. So I want to get this entity. Prepare query, that file's here. App user ID is this. D992. This is the ID. Okay, this needs to be figured out. So let's enable the entity framework tracking. But since local clock is 1 o'clock in the night, I will go and sleep a little bit. Okay, I couldn't sleep. I thought about it a little bit. So let's see at the problem. So let's first see what the hell is the entity framework doing. So I need to enable the logging a little bit more. So the Microsoft is just now in the level of warning. So let's set it to the information. So I can actually see what the hell is going on. So this means that log all the Microsoft dot something messages at the level of information. Let's run it. It was initially just warning. So now we show lots of more information here. Yes, now I can see my SQL sentences. So, but I only need actually this Microsoft Entity Framework core database. I don't want to see the rest of them, of the stuff. I think I can even take the whole command thing. So it's actually, let's put it back to the warning. And this is what I want to see as information. Let's rerun it. Okay. So what I want to do here is I want to do the update. So let's execute it. And I got my exception. So it's still entity to be updated was not in the data source. And this is the SQL fail. What's this? Cast 0 as bit equals cast 1 as a bit. So it's always false, which means that this will always give out the false. So this is some weird SQL produced. What the hell? So this here gives out some weird result. What I think is that this should work, but I'm not so sure about now since I changed this type back to the object question mark. This means that it is now nullable something. So I'm trying to make it equal to the nullable something. This might be the problem. And I actually know that this object is a TK. And I know that since I'm checking the interface here, that the app user ID field is definitely there. So I can just cast it to the TK, like so. And I know that the user ID has to be of type TK. There is actually no other option here. So, and if it isn't, then it will just crash badly, but it should be user ID. So let's see, what can I do about it? Will this help this query? Yep. This is how it should look like something. So this is the initial data seeding where it checks that location type ID. So those predefined 3 location types are here. So let's clear the console and let's try to execute it again. Yes, 204, undocumented. But select case, yes, app user ID and the ID. Yes, nice. So that should be okay, no countdown, and then the update is done. And then it checks how many entities were actually updated. All right, this is cool. So now I can do the get, execute, and yes, the entity was updated. So now it seems to be okay. So I can actually commit it. And now I can actually also push it, since my push is into master branch, and it will be deployed automatically to the server. So it should still work. Although, okay, put is not used there, but still it's not nice to send bad code to the, or semi-broken code out to the repo. So this seems to be okay now, which means that I need to do the third one, which is the locations was just now done, I think, yes. Yes, location types is also using unit of work. So the only one I need to do is this GPS sessions controller. And I think I have here some problem with the domain. So it shouldn't be a domain actually. So let's fix this one. This one has to be dull app DTO, yes. Okay. And this should actually fix my Swagger here a little bit. Because here I have like too many types. So let's see, I should get rid now of the GPS location type here, I think. Yes, only the domain GPS session is here. So this is one nice thing where they check what types Swagger thinks you are outputting. So it's public API DTO login, JIT response, message, identity, dull-app DTO GPS location, location type. Then I have one special output type GPS session view, and still the domain GPS session. So let's fix the domain GPS session also. So I need first this, where are you? This unit of work. So this will be here. It's imported. This one will be gone. And we don't have any more of this AppTV context here. So everything is based on the unit of work. So this is unit of work, GPS sessions. This is allow anonymous. So this is basically get all async, and then we do the select on top of it. What I'm doing here, this will fail, this is bad, so I will not get the GPS locations back from this get all async. So I need to overwrite the get all async and actually return not the GPS session anymore, but I need to return something else, and this is not definitely domain. So I need to create the correct object, actually. Let me think now. So this needs to be executed in the database. So this a GPS locations count. So this needs to be updated or done in the database. So this get all async is a base repository one. Definitely. So this goes here. This is iGPS. Just this is totally empty. So it's coming from here. So I need to do a new get all async and output some better data from here. And the thing I'm outputting here is this Dunlap DTO GPS session. So I actually need to send a different data type out from here. This means that this iGPS resta, I basically need this method like this, but it shall return a different type. And since the different type, the return type is not part of the method signature, this means that I cannot just overwrite this method, I need to do a new one. So let's go back to the iGPS repository interface. And so what I'm returning from here is this Dunlap DTO, or my types I'm using here, but this needs to be something different. So what did I call it here? Where are you? Web app, domain, DTOs are here. So this is the public API DTO, GPS session DTO, which is the GPS session view. So that's the same thing I need. So I need to create it here, Dunlap DTO, new class, GPS session view. Okay, let's make it also, I could gather them all in the same class, but it kind of can get lengthy. So I need all those properties. Okay, so I need to return this list of GPS session views. And get all async is not the get all async. Get all, let's say, for display. So this will be okay. Get all for view, since this is GPS session view. Okay, now I need actually implement this. Implement missing members. GPS session, so the user ID is not used here, not tracking is also not used here. So I can, but maybe for the future, let them be. So I need to do something like this. Take my repo dbset. Do I need to limit them somehow? Maybe if I would actually use this user ID here. So maybe if I don't want to fulfill it just now, then let's just throw it out. So it's repo dbset. Basically, I'm asking for all of the records. So I can just do the select here. And can I use the auto mapper here? No, I can't. So I need to do this new GPS session view, and I need to map all the objects. So if when this gets done, I can do it to list async. And of course, this needs to be then public virtual async, and this needs to be await. And I need to map my stuff here. So I can go into the controller and grab the code from here. Okay, it's an A. So this is exactly the same method what I had here, but now I can use this get all for view async. So I actually can now just do this. Didn't I copy it? So this is the UAV GPS sessions. And it doesn't have any parameters, so now the complex code is in there, that access code is in the repository, so this should be okay. So what is this? So this is the lab DTO. Is it okay? Yep, the lab DTO. No, this is not correct. This is also not correct. Yep, now it's correct. It's the lab DTO. And I shouldn't even have anymore this GPS session DTO. So this is not used anymore. So I can remove this class now. So it will not confuse me here. Now the next ones. So, okay, the message DTO is still okay. So this is UOV first or default async. Okay, return okay. Update the GPS session. So GPS session is updated on the user, so you can only update your own data. So, okay, so this is the UOV, first or default async. And now I need the ID, which is the GPS session ID. And the user ID. No, I need the exists. Okay, then just in case we overwrite that user ID here, and then we need to update it. So this is await unit of work GPS sessions dot update the sync GPS session. And then it's await unit of work save changes. And I don't need the rest of the stuff here. Okay, producers consumes. So this is what post we create the new GPS session. So that user is here. If pace minimum is under the 60 seconds per kilometers, okay, let that one be here. So it's unit of work, GPS sessions add. So then it's an UOV, save changes async. And now it gets updated automatically correctly. So this should have the correct ID, hopefully. And here we do the delete. So I do some role checking. Okay, let's think about it. What shall happen here? So okay, it's two execution paths. So either if I'm admin, then I'm allowed to delete anything. And if I'm not admin, then no, you cannot delete. And first we check for the existence. And then we do the remove via the session itself. Okay, so let's do something like this. So what can we actually do? War, oh yeah, something like this. So we do this GPS session, and it is actually of this type. So we can say something like this equals null. So now we have two ways how to load it. Oh, I can actually do it in the one go, I think. Let's try to write it a little bit better. So var GPS session equals unit of work, GPS sessions. So this is the first or default async. GUID ID is okay, and user ID, this is now a little bit more complex. So let's do the conditional here. So if the user is in role admin, let's write it this way. If the user admin, then send a null. And if the user is not admin, then send the user dot user ID. What's wrong with this one? There is no implicit conversion between GPS sessions. What the hell? KID object user ID null. Okay. Since it can be an object, but it wants to convert this one. Let's try it this way. So if this is a null, then this cannot be a null. Can I do something like this? Cast it to the object. This will definitely work. Can I cast it to the GUID null? Oh, that's a little bit better. Okay, this is doable. So I don't need to do anything of this kind here. So this is also done. So I also need the await here. Yeah, go to hell. So this is the await remove async and await UOV, and I can just in case send the user dot user ID here also. And this method is not used anymore. So this should be it, I think. Let's run it just in case. Okay, was built. I need to authorize myself if I want to test it. So it's a bearer something. Authorize. So it's a GPS sessions. So I can run the get. So I have my one session here. Yes, and it has the GPS locations count nicely. So those are not calculated. So I can go and grab this one from here. I can do this get one. So this gives me the single one, and this one still returns the original type. Okay, somewhere here is also domain GPS session. Weird, shouldn't be anymore. Let's figure it out. I'm not using domain here. So where is the domain coming from? GPS sessions. How can I figure it out? Who is returning this? Domain GPS session. No, there is no domain. So let's see this. What is this returning? GPS session. This is the lab DTO. GPS session. Yes, task, GPS session. Yes, this should be dull. So who is returning this domain GPS session? Where is this coming from? Put delete. Example schema. Okay, now I can check the schema from here. Schema. Okay, image problem details is coming from here. This is unauthorized. Okay, the post. Okay, the post is taking domain GPS session as a parameter. Let's see. Put post. Post type of dull. What hell? Shall I do something like clean? Stop and build. Okay, let's run it again. Oh yeah, it's gone actually. So I'm good. Seems to be. So the only thing, let's authorize again. Let's still test it. So it's a bearer authorization. GPS sessions. Let's get my sessions. Just a one. Okay, now I have my ID. Now I can get the single one. Okay, now I have the correct type for it. And now let's see, can I do the boot? So I don't need app user ID. I need the rest of those. I need the ID also as a query string. Version is 1. So let's add some weird numbers here. Oh, the base min, it doesn't check the values here, I think. So it's 11111 2222 executed bad request. The GPS session field is regulated. Okay, comma is also bad. Execute. 204. So let's check it. Yes, nice. So it is working. So I can commit now. All repos done. And push it out. So let's look here. So it's in deployment. Build went okay. Running. Passed. So we can check from here. Do we still get the yes? Who is the latest here? That one. Still working. And my Bua instance. Can I log in? Yes, I can log in and I can list the sessions and I can delete. I cannot delete. So why can't I delete the session? Let's see. So let's try it from. No, I can try it from the Postman, but I need to log in into different server. So let's see, can I see something useful from here? What is the actual response? Request failed with status code 500. So I am authenticated. Get all is okay. It's an internal server error, which is weird. So let's try to actually execute it. So first I need to log in. So I can actually update this one here. So it's this, no. What is it? It's this one. And I don't have any ports here. So it should be something like this. Okay, too many HTTPSs. Okay, this is also bad. Okay, got my token. So far, so good. So I can update my headers. So this has the new token and a different URL. Damn it. So I need GPS sessions. Then I need this ID. And I want to do the delete. I have the header, everything should be. Entity to be updated was not found in the data source. Oh, yes. Or no. Let's see, what did I do in the code? GPS sessions, when I want to delete. User is in role admin, which I should be. What's the problem here? So if I am in the user in the admin role, then send a null there, and if I'm not there, then send the actual user ID and we'll cast it to the nullable guide. Hopefully this works. Okay, so let's test it locally. Since I have, I don't know why this happens sometimes in my local computer. Okay, I have my backend up locally against the local database. GPS session with an ID not found. Okay, and this one already raises an exception if this is, yeah, this is kind of bad actually now. So first or default will raise an exception internally if this user is in role admin. So this should be okay. And the user is enrolled should be with a small a, if I remember correctly. So let's figure out what is going on here. So maybe I will do something like this. Just to check it better. I will grab this out from here. And let's send this one here. So let's make a breakpoint here and let's debug it. Okay. So let's grab the postman again. Damn it, I need to do those localhost requests again. Okay. And now I lost my microphone. So this is the HTTP localhost. And I should be here. User ID tõhkei null, which is okay since I am enrolled admin currently. So the user ID tõhkei null should be okay. So let's step over it. And this one throws the exception. Why? Or no, it didn't throw an exception. IAP unit for GPS collecting data. Oh yeah, this will fail here, of course. My bad, I'm trying to do the wrong thing. Absolutely. This, the same ID has to be used here, because now I'm trying to delete the bad thing. Yes, absolutely. So this is the fix. X. Oh, I still have microphone. Nice. Did it switch over to the Mac mics because my Bluetooth one is dead? We'll see. Running. It's deploying. Job succeeded. Okay. So let's try the client. And I should be able to delete. No. Why couldn't I? Oh, now I'm not logged in. Sessions and delete that one. Yes, it is working. So this is it for today. So now it's almost 3 o'clock in the morning, so now I'll go and sleep. So my repositories are done, and the next project or the next level is to do the business logic level, so the services. So see you next time.